If a country has a Gini coefficient of 1, it means that all the income of a nation belongs to one individual. Therefore, if any country has a Gini coefficient of 1, it would necessarily mean that each and everyone's income belongs to only one person. That is, of course, an issue which doesn't happen, but that is how the Gini coefficient is calculated. It is a monarchy, and the king has all the wealth, no one has anything else, and that would be technically something best as well. Gini coefficient, if any country has a Gini coefficient of 0, it means everyone in the country has equal income. Everyone has equal income. It is 0. So the 1 and 0 are two extremes. One is where every income belongs to one individual of a country, and Gini coefficient of 0 means everyone in the country has equal income. The problem of technology means I'm in a video. Obviously, I'm not able to ask you questions, and I'm unable to interact with you, because now the matter becomes a little interesting. And that is where interactive sessions helps. So, all the countries in the world have been mapped, actually not all the countries, most of the countries in the world have been mapped as to what the Gini coefficient of the country could be. The Gini coefficient of the Nordic Islands, let's say, is Norway, countries like all those countries, the Gini coefficient is about 0.23 to 0.25. What it means is, 0.23 to 0.25 means that it is fairly equal, no country has 0. The country which has the worst Gini coefficient so far has been found to be South Africa, and that is around 0.67. So South Africa has around 0.67 Gini coefficient, which means that the income distribution between the rich and poor is very high. It is close to 1. Rich are very rich, the poor are very poor. Whereas in case of Nordic Islands, the difference between rich and poor is very less, because it's around 0.23 to 0.44. So I have given you two extreme examples. Is it all going well? Are you all understanding? Yes or maybe?
Yes.
Okay, cool. That sounds great. If somebody could say yes, that'd be very nice. That takes care of this technological barrier, or the barrier between you and me. Now, theoretically, it has been stated that the country should try to make the Gini coefficient lower than 0.5. So any country which is lower than 0.5, they're implicated, because their economics or their economic policies are much better. Now, my next question would be, what do you think the Gini coefficient of China is? And I would love to hear the answer, but maybe in a situation like this, you will not be able to answer. You will be surprised to know, in spite of all that what happens in the country, China being communist, and there are actually political parties in India who wants to follow China because they feel that everyone will become equal. China's Gini coefficient is around 0.52 to 0.3. It is higher than 0.5. And that, of course, is a surprise, I'm quite sure. And the next question, therefore, is that what do you think the Gini coefficient of India will be? Food for thought, I'm quite sure. If I would have asked this question to you, maybe you would have said it is higher than 0.5 or more than 0.5. I don't know how the majority of you feel, but you would be glad to hear that the Gini coefficient of India is less than 0.5, which is around 0.42 to 0.4. So let's say around 0.43. Now, why did I give you this little, it's not a story, but an explanation of a concept.
सेम है सर वो।
Ladies and gentlemen, my dear boys and girls,
ये
the
वाला कर
whole
दो जो भी हो
concept
रहा
of
है।
a budget,
हाँ
the whole concept of budget is 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 to put the Gini coefficient close to zero. The whole objective of a budget is can we lower the Gini coefficient close to zero. Everyone, the economic world, the politicians, everyone wants to make the Gini coefficient close to zero. Whenever anyone comes out with with a political manifesto, what is it he or she is trying to do? They are trying to say, if anyone will come across, I will. There is a lot of background noise. Can you hear me very clearly?
यस सर यस सर।
Okay, there is a lot of echo, so I'm not able
सर
to see.
फैन ऑफ कर दो, फैन ऑफ कर दो।
Give me 1 second, if you don't mind. Can we say no? There is a behind later.
From their side.
Their side.
Most people. So it comes back.
Okay. Sorry, I think because there is a loudspeaker there, that's a cool here. So let's see what best we can do. So, as I say, the concept of any economic policy is to make coefficient Gini coefficient goes to zero. And it is surprised to know that economists of the world do not know how to make Gini coefficient go to zero. They don't know the answer. There is no answer. In fact, they don't even know how to reduce it. Because everyone wants to reduce it. You think South Africa at 0.67 don't want to reduce it? Of course they want to reduce it. So everyone wants to reduce it. But there are high levels, even China is becoming, they want to reduce it, but they're not able to reduce it. So whatever the economists do not know how the Gini coefficient can be reduced. But there are two consensus, two steps which has been known that if these two steps are taken, perhaps the Gini coefficient can be reduced. And those two steps are, and I would love to ask you a question whether you know the answer, but now that is not possible. The first step is to have education. Have universal education. The more education we give to the people, the Gini coefficient tends to go low. And that perhaps is common sense. And the second one, perhaps will surprise you, is giving pension scheme for people who retires. Essentially speaking, it is more towards medical pension than anything else, because as you all know, and of course most of your children, most of you are young, so you don't know what happens with old age, but if one becomes old and if a disease strikes, a person's lifetime savings can be wiped out because of a particular disease. So, if the economic policy overs towards education, means making meaningful education to most, and number two, providing more and more pension schemes to people, that helps to reduce the Gini coefficient. And ladies and gentlemen, you'll be happy to know that our budget is exactly doing that. In spite of all the brickbats which you would have heard, I'm quite sure of late you are hearing and listening and reading so much about the economic slowdown in India, and the government is not doing things which they ought to do, and so on and so forth. That's fine. We can criticize everything, and that's what we should, because after all, it's a democracy. We must criticize things. But ladies and gentlemen, the great thing is happening that there is so much focus on going on education. While this particular budget talked about high quality education, in the last budget they actually talked about universal education. A lot of money has been but budgeted for education, and this particular budget talked about good quality, higher education, which is the right thing to do, which is making our people employable, because meaning we should have education which is meaningful. Number two, this budget has come out with a scheme that the small traders of less than 1.5 crore turnover will get a pension, and that will help 3 crore people. Last year, similarly, unorganized labor, was brought into the pension scheme. In India, we did not have pension scheme, worthwhile pension scheme. And as we are going along, we can understand that the government is slowly converting and transferring money and fund towards covering the so-called the lower class of the society, lower strata of the society under the pension scheme. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing else but attacking Gini coefficient at the core. So the battle of pension scheme and education is definitely working towards attacking the Gini coefficient. So that's what I want to talk about. I do not want to speak about what the budget offered because all of you know about it. In essence, I would think one more particular aspect which may be worthwhile for you to know, that the fiscal deficit which the government could have actually tampered with. You know what is the fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is nothing else but if a government has a revenue of 100, has an income of 100, and the government has to spend 110. If the government has an income of 100 and spend 110, where will the 10 come from? The government has to print money. Basically, the government borrows from Reserve Bank of India, which is nothing else but printing money. So now this difference between 100, what is the income and what is the expenditure, has been historically believed that if this number is not more than 3, the inflation can be kept under control, which means if your income is 100 and your expenditure is 103, the inflation in the country can be kept under control. And the good news is, this was an election year. A lot of political parties promised a lot of things. Everyone said the loans will be waived off, and people will be getting so much of money, 2,000 rupees per month or 3,000 rupees per month, and so on and so forth. That would have definitely created huge budget deficit. Where would the money come from? How will you give away the money to the people if there is no income? Fortunately, good sense prevailed in this budget, and the budget talks about a 3.4% revenue deficit, which means that they are not unlikely that they are going to spend more than 3 rupees 50 paise, let us put it, beyond for every 100 rupees they are earning. So therefore, the inflation, it is expected, the inflation will be kept under control. Inflation, of course, one of the areas by which inflation could have grown completely out of our control was if the agricultural production doesn't take place. There was a fear in the month of June the monsoon did not come into India. Good news is the monsoon has come, although it has covered, I think, about 75% of the nation is having good monsoon, or maybe 80% is having good monsoon. So normally speaking, given this situation, and they are expecting another 1 month that there will be a good monsoon, so we do expect that the agricultural produce would be more or less at par, if not a little higher than the target. So again, I believe that inflation will be kept under control. So given this overarching comment that I think the government is aware of the Gini coefficient concept, the government is working towards making Gini coefficient close to 0, that it cannot be. Of course, we are close to lower and lower than 0.5. The deficit financing has been kept at 3.4%, very good, in spite of the pressure that everyone wants goodies from the government. Who doesn't want goodies? You and me, everyone wants goodies. And goodies cost, nothing comes free. If I and you get goodies, the government has to divert the money from either constructing of a hospital or a road or a bridge somewhere else. So money doesn't come. Money doesn't come from trees, and heaven doesn't give us money. Money has to be created. One more last thing is, I think government is hell-bent to sell off loss-making public sector assets. You are many of you are students of economics, most all of you are students of management. Government has no business to be business. Government has no business to be business. Governments cannot run business. Historically, we had a mixed economy for right or wrong reason. We have entered into government, has started businesses, and many of them are poorly run. There are a lot of loss-making companies, and that must be sold off. Government also have a lot of extra assets attached to their let's say businesses that run like Indian Railways. Indian Railways have lakhs of acres of land which is lying surplus which should be monetized. So the government has reserved about 1,10,000 crores, if I remember the figure, towards sale of public sector assets. That's good money. That money again can be used for infrastructure development, giving of pensions and reducing the Gini coefficient and so on and so forth. So, my dear friends, because of distance and the technology, I'm not too sure whether I've been able to make sense to all of you. But if there is a way by which questions can be answered, I'll be very happy to do so. We can spend a few minutes. If someone can help me to understand our questions, I will be very happy to answer anything what you wish to do. And of course, go without saying, I'll be very happy to be with you once. Thank you, my dear friends.
So, what has the budget really done to empower ARC, asset restructuring?
Are you talking about asset reconstruction companies?
Yes, sir, asset restructuring ones. What has the budget done for them?
Budget has nothing to do with ARC. These are all legal steps. Budget is all about allocation of money. Allocation of money means from where will the money come from and where will the money go. Budget is also a statement of intent. Budget says, okay, the government is trying to look at the areas which will hopefully help the country to grow. Now, the question of ARC has not been discussed in the budget, but ARCs have not been successful in the past because we did not have an appropriate bankruptcy clause or bankruptcy legislation. And as you now know, there is something called IBC, Insolvency and Banking Code, which came into existence about 2.5 years back. That is the single most important turning point in India's history. So what happens in the Insolvency Banking Code in 2 sentences, that if you have a company which you are not able to return the money, return the debt, you have borrowed the money and sold the company, you are not able to pay the principal, you are not supposed to pay the interest. So what happens is your company is then put on auction, and that auction is through a judicial process called the National Company Law Tribunal, NCLT or NCLT as the case may be. The moment the asset or the company goes on action, ARCs can buy it on at a mostly further price. What does ARCs do? ARCs then takes over those assets at a very little down value when the banks take a haircut of 70, 80%, 50%, and then ARCs hopefully starts running the company better and then sell it in due course of time. So while the budget has not and should not talk about ARCs, but I think with this IBC settling down, NCLT and NCLT settling down, of course it has taken time to settle down, you will see more and more ARCs making profitable deals. This is my impression of the situation as it stands. I'm not too sure whether I've been able to answer your question, but you can ask a supplementary question if you wish.
Thank you, sir. Another question?
Sir, thank you so much for enlightening us on the Gini coefficient. I have a question. As you said that the education and the pension, these are the 2 things which work effectively in bringing down the Gini coefficient. As you may be aware, sir, for last 12 years, government collected education cess and higher education cess for about 12 years. Now that money was collected. The question is what that money really utilized for the purpose it was collected. That was number 1. Number 2, regarding the pension, you said this very good scheme for traders that 3,000 rupees will be coming. You know that there is a pension scheme for the organized sector where EPFO is administering that scheme. You people are contributing for that. Even under that scheme, 3,000 rupee pension is not being assured. People are getting pension of only 1,000, 1,500, 1,600. That too after contributing in that scheme for years. So don't you think this is the basically thing you are bringing out a new scheme that you will be able to get 3,000 rupees? People who have been contributing for years, for 20 years, and they end up getting 1,600, 1,700, which is for the organized sector. So these are the two things which I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Good question, sir. Sir, we have to distinguish the provident fund contributory schemes and the pension schemes which the government has started announcing from last year. The provident fund contribution scheme is essentially for sectors which are all UMU, which is the organized sector, where we contribute, let's say, 8% of our salary or 12% of our salary. Our employer also contributes more or less 8% minimum annual income. So both employer and employee contributes, and then that contribution, where does the money go? The money then is invested in either government debts or supposed to go to businesses like mutual funds, and the income therefrom is distributed to us as a provident fund return. Historically, provident fund has been giving an 8%, 8.5% return, sir. So if you did have a money, if you have contributed provident fund, I can assure you that's the best investment you have made in your life. Provident fund has no income tax, provident fund has no wealth tax, and provident fund did not have gift tax in the gift tax days. Today the gift tax doesn't exist. So it is all tax-free. Provident fund is a self-contributory scheme where the money is then invested and the income arising therefrom are distributed to the provident fund holders. However, what the government has started doing since last year, they started announcing pension scheme for the unorganized sector. Last year, they announced this pension scheme for people who are, let's say, cleans the roads, cleaning people. Now, cleaning people, municipality cleaning people are unorganized. They come and clean the roads in the morning. They have 3-4 hours of work and they have nothing to do. This unorganized sector they covered. This year they covered a pension scheme for all traders, small traders, sir, who's selling a balloon or toys less than 1.5 crore annual turnover. They have been covered this year. So this pension scheme is different from the provident fund scheme. But sir, at the end of the day, the government has X quantum of money, which is, India's budgetary size is 26 lakh crore. Now this 26 lakh crore is what we all have. This has to be either gone towards defense, towards salaries, wages, towards construction of roads, railways, bridges, or towards pension. So this 26 lakh crore can be enhanced. As you know, sir, India's GDP is $2.5 trillion, which is about, let's say, 200 lakh crore. Out of 200 lakh crore, 26 lakh crore, 27 lakh crore is what funds are budgeted. So it's a different issue. I believe government wants to give more to people like to us, but any government all over the world has only so much to do because only so much we can garner and gather. One of the ways I think things should improve, and I'm a little optimistic on it, is if the government really can encash their assets, which is stuck up and giving no return, either loss-making PSUs or the land ban which they're having. They have kept 1,10,000 crore for encashment, and I think that would be a bad money stuck which can be encashed and used for good causes.
For your precious time spent with us, and thank you very much for giving such an insightful talk on the Gini coefficient and how pension schemes and educational schemes impact the economy through budget. Now,
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and the faculty members and my dear students. Hope to see you soon. God bless you all. Bye-bye. Have a lovely day. Thank you.
just a minute, sir. Excuse me, sir. There's one more question. A student wants one more question to be answered.
Sure. I'll open that.
So, which type of budget helps to reduce the GDP efficiency?
Which type of budget? What did you say? Can you
Helps to reduce the GDP efficiency.
Gini coefficient. What type of budget can reduce Gini coefficient? No one knows the answer. No one knows the answer. If the world knew this answer, If the economists knew this answer, then every political system and economic system would have followed it. No one knows the answer. However, they have found out that if education can be given and the people can have a good tend to think, Gini coefficient does tend towards 0. That's it. There is no other answer. I wish that I knew the answer. And whoever can find this out will get the next Nobel Prize in economics.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.